All right, y'all. We have Sheduer Sanders, the most controversial player in the 2025 NFL Draft. Um, Shout out to J&D Productions. I want to see what he says because I'm not gonna give any pre-video thoughts. I'm gonna give him as the video plays out. But this dude is me getting a lot of hate, which is wild because his play says opposite. But let's see.
Sheduer Sanders is the most polarizing prospect in the 2025 NFL Draft. I would be shocked if anyone felt differently. He's the son of a Hall of Famer, just benefited from playing with a Heisman Trophy winner, and would instantly sell jerseys wherever he goes. But does all of that mean that he's worthy of a first-round pick? Well, maybe not. But no matter where he gets drafted or what team takes him, he's going to be a hell of a lot of fun to watch in the NFL. Sheduer Sanders is obviously the son of Deion Sanders, who not only is a Hall of Fame cornerback, two-time Super Bowl champ, former MLB player who played in a World Series, but he's also coached Sheduer and his brother Shiloh at multiple levels. Deion was the offensive coordinator at Trinity Christian School in Cedar Hill, Texas, where Sheduer was the starting quarterback. As a senior, Sheduer passed for 3,702 yards and 42 touchdowns. He was rated a 3-star recruit and did initially commit to play at Florida Atlantic. But of course, he didn't end up going to FAU. He flipped to Jackson State, an HBCU in the SWAC at the FCS level, after his dad was named the head coach. So kinda hard to blame him there. Sheduer Sanders was the starting quarterback at Jackson State as a freshman in the fall 2021 season. It was a bit weird because they did end up playing a spring 2021 season because it got delayed from the fall because of COVID, but Sheduer wasn't eligible to play. Jackson State ultimately went 4-3 in the abbreviated season. But once Sheduer was able to play, he was ready to go. He ended up passing for 3,231 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. Sheduer was the SWAC Freshman of the Year, second team All-SWAC, and won the Jerry Rice Award as the most outstanding freshman in the FCS, making him the first player to ever win it at an HBCU. Then as a sophomore, he threw for 3,700.
Wait, what did he win?
He ended up passing for 3,231 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. Sheduer was the SWAC Freshman of the Year, second team All-SWAC, and won the Jerry Rice Award as the most outstanding freshman in the FCS, making him the first player to ever win it at an HBCU. Then as a sophomore, he threw for 3,732 yards and 40 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. He was the SWAC Offensive Player of the Year and won the Deacon Jones
40 touchdowns to 6 picks. It's crazy.
Trophy as the top HBCU player in the country. It was a really good 2-year stretch for Jackson State. They went 11-2 in 2021 and finished ranked number 19 in the FCS Coaches Poll. Then in 2022, they finished ranked number 11 in the FCS Coaches Poll. Now, despite all of the success, Jackson State did still lose in the Celebration Bowl both seasons. Regardless, it was an impressive job by Deion Sanders, but he was ready for a new challenge. He ended up getting hired as the new head coach at Colorado, a huge jump from the SWAC to the Pac-12 and then the Big 12 after just one season. With the jump, Deion brought his guys with him to Boulder, and that included Sheduer and Shiloh and even Travis Hunter, who was the #1 player in the entire class and shocked the nation when he decided to play for Deion instead of going to FSU. And of course, that worked out very well for him. He just won the Heisman Trophy and is about to go very high at the 2025 NFL Draft. The move to Colorado ended up being a good one, not just for him, but also for Sheduer Sanders, who didn't take a step back despite playing against much tough.
I do wonder who the next two-way player, because they got a guy that I remember I seen in a video. They have another two-way player on their roster. But I wonder if he's gonna play this year, because I don't think he played this past season. And then I wonder if Deion plans on continuing to do this with these two-way players.
Tougher talent. All of a sudden, Colorado was one of the most exciting programs to watch in the country, and Sheduer was a big part of it.
Yeah,
it didn't take long for everyone to start paying attention.
I think he's like 5'9". Whoever to do this, I can't remember his name.
On a show, passing for a school record 510
He's not as tall as
yards
Travis.
and 4 touchdowns, and a win against number 17 TCU. Colorado
maybe
started off
5-10. I
hot,
could be
and it
wrong.
was all the entire country could talk about. They beat Nebraska the next week as Sheduer threw for 2 touchdowns and rushed for 1, and they then beat Colorado State, where he had 4 touchdowns and a pick. It really was an insane start that was completely unexpected for Colorado, but they did eventually have to come back to earth, and that's exactly what happened against Oregon. Oregon was just a
got
tank,
whooped.
and number 10 in the country at the time.
I do appreciate the backstory, but I want to get to like the most controversial aspect.
It was a big prove-it game, and honestly, it wasn't very pretty. Colorado got waxed 42-6, and literally were down 42-0
they got whooped by the big
early in the
teams
third
that year.
quarter. It was ugly.
Sure.
Colorado had some other ranked matchups on the year, like the next week when they lost to USC and Caleb Williams in a 48-41
They got whooped by USC,
Colorado then
came
had
back
3
garbage time.
straight ranked matchups later in the
Garbage
schedule,
time.
but lost each one to number 23
Cody
UCLA, number
Jackson.
16
Rip.
Oregon State, and number 21 Arizona. After starting 3-0, Colorado only won 1 more game. That came against Arizona State in an absolute nail-biter. They finished the year on a 6-game losing streak to end 4-8 and a horrible 1-8 in the Pac-12. There were definitely high hopes, but yeah, they were probably too high. Sheduer Sanders did still play fantastic though. He had 3,230 yards and 27 touchdowns with only 3 interceptions, and also rushed for 4 touchdowns. Either way, it was a huge step in the right direction for Colorado, and it laid the foundation for a potentially big 2024. And that's exactly what happened. 2024 was a special year at Colorado.
The
They
O-line
did
was
lose a
bad.
tough
I mean,
early
O-line this year
season
wasn't
game
great
to
either.
Nebraska and Patrick Mahomes lookalike Dylan Raiola, but the Buffaloes were good. No ranked wins, but they went 9-3 and 7-2 in Big 12 play, which was obviously a big improvement, especially in conference play. Now, it probably didn't help that the Pac-12 was absolutely loaded in 2023, but their only other losses came to number 18 Kansas State and what ended up being a great game, and Colorado was actually right there, and then against Kansas later in the year. Unlike the year before, Colorado ended up making a bowl game, the Alamo Bowl, and Sheduer did end up playing, which you really don't see a ton of with solid NFL prospects, but he did play. That being said, Colorado got crushed by number 17 BYU. It was a great season for the Buffaloes.
I don't really know what happened in that game. Like I watched the highlights, but I don't know. I wish I knew the details.
And Sheduer Sanders was even a guy with a chance to win the Heisman, but it ultimately went to his wide receiver and star cornerback Travis Hunter. Sheduer had
What's also crazy to me is like Sheduer wasn't even in the Heisman voting, but Dylan Gabriel was. And from what I've seen from Dylan Gabriel, I like Dylan Gabriel. But if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but I think Sheduer had better numbers. But again, I guess team success is huge. So never mind. Let me not even say that. Team success is a big thing. But I don't know. There were players in the Heisman voting where I thought like Sheduer competed pretty well. Matched up pretty well. So hey.
a great season, passing for 4,134 yards, 34 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions.
74% completion is crazy. With 37-10 and 4K yards. That's a good stat line. It passed the ball 70% more than Oregon. I feel like he had good numbers to even. Again, he wasn't even, like I said, he wasn't even in the voting for the Heisman, which is wild to me. I thought he played good enough to even, if not winning, but at least be in that conversation.
And he rushed for 4 additional touchdowns. It really was a remarkable season and put him well in the conversation to be one of the top quarterback prospects in the 2025 NFL Draft. Now, Sheduer Sanders is easily the most polarizing guy in the class. He was once thought to potentially be the top guy in the class, but that's definitely died out a bit, and Cam Ward is definitely the clear top guy now. The question now becomes, who will the second quarterback taken be? And it could definitely be Sheduer. The NFL has him listed as a 6.30 prospect grade, which has him listed as a guy who will eventually be a better than average starter, which I'm actually surprised it even has him listed that high. That's definitely not a slam dunk, but he is at least a better option than a lot of the middle round guys. His production at Colorado was solid, and he even finished first in production score among all quarterbacks at the combine. But the big issue was with actual talent. He ended up with the 3rd total score overall, and that's because as far as athleticism goes, he really isn't that special. He came in at 14th at the combine amongst quarterbacks, and he measures in at 6'1", 212 pounds. Sheduer is a pretty good passer when it comes from the pocket, but he isn't very mobile, which really does work against what most teams want at this point. His arm isn't really anything special either, and he has a long release too.
He could be nitpicky, but I do think he could I guess slim down a little bit and like maybe add a little more muscle. But again, he plays quarterback, so might be a little nitpicky.
That all being said, his
Like strengthen up that core, son. You know.
confidence is high. He's known as this arrogant dude at times who wants the spotlight. And yeah, that's probably true.
He definitely, in my opinion, I think watching some of his highlights at Jackson State, he definitely was more mobile than he was at Colorado, which is weird. But again, he looked heavier at Colorado than he did at Jackson State. So, but I think he moves in the pocket very well. So, like him being, I guess, ranking his athleticism as low, him being what they expect to be, I don't know, Jalen Milroe or something, but he moves very well in the pocket, very very well.
What would you expect from a dude whose dad's nickname is literally primetime? But you can certainly see his confidence even on the team.
Long release,
Having Travis
so
Hunter
true.
definitely helped, but no, he wasn't
Colorado
a
didn't even
Travis
try to run
Hunter
the ball.
merchant.
I'm not gonna lie,
Trying to
running
figure
was
out where
trash.
Sheduer Sanders will get drafted
Even when they
feels
tried to run
pretty
it,
impossible. As a talent, he may not be a
even when they tried to run it, it wasn't good. And then when I did watch, they wouldn't prioritize, from what I saw, their best running backs.
first round pick, but it doesn't matter. He's a quarterback, which is already super overvalued in the draft. Not only that, but he has pedigree as the son of Deion Sanders, and he'd sell tickets. I do think the Giants could make some sense at number 3, depending on how they view him. They've gone out and signed both Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, but both of those guys obviously aren't long-term solutions at quarterback.
It would be
The
so
Giants
dumb if
will
the
have
Giants
to get
do
a
that.
young guy at some point, and it may be later in the draft, but a name like Sheduer Sanders in the Big Apple would just be wild. I'd also say that the Browns could take Sheduer at pick number 2, but I honestly doubt it. I really don't think Deion would let his kid go to the mess that is the Cleveland Browns, but honestly, who knows? If anything, in a more realistic world, the Browns probably go Travis Hunter at 2 and then Sheduer at 33 to start the second round. Then the Raiders are the last top 10 pick that would make a ton of sense.
JD, what?
World, the Browns probably go Travis Hunter at, but honestly, who knows? If anything, in a more realistic world, the Browns probably go Travis Hunter at 2 and then Sheduer at 33 to start the
Sheduer at 33. Why would the Steelers not draft Sheduer if he's in the first round? If they have what? That makes no sense.
second round. Then the Raiders are the last top 10 pick that would make a ton of sense at pick number 6.
There is no team that needs a quarterback that will wait till the second round to let Sheduer slide. Somebody's gonna trade back in the first round. Like that don't make no sense.
They traded for Geno Smith and signed him to a 2-year deal, but they need a young quarterback, and Sheduer honestly would probably thrive somewhere like Vegas. The draft is a crapshoot sometimes, and it's hard to evaluate, but here's one thing we know for sure. Sheduer Sanders is one of the biggest names in the entire draft, and whether he goes in the first round or day 2, or if he's good or stinks, people will definitely be watching.
Again, I don't think Sheduer is perfect. I don't think Sheduer is a generational talent, but I do think Sheduer is good. So some of this stuff like that, like just to hear maybe he could go in the second round, that's wild to me. That's wild. It makes me wonder, like, did any of these GMs or analysts, like, have they watched multiple games, you know? Again, because I haven't watched multiple games of Cam Ward, but I could see enough based off of Cam Ward's highlights. This dude nice. I gotta give it to him. He nice. But I watched enough for Shador to be like, he's nice. Like, it's weird. It's just weird. You can't tell me Cam Ward is number 1 overall pick talent and Shador is like the gap is that huge. It's not at all. Not a huge gap. I see them more on the same level. I just think, obviously, at least what it seems to be is that, people are getting their emotions involved and it's clouding their judgment. But thinking football just dropped the vid. Oh, I'm gonna check this out. Seahawks will snatch him up if at 18 if he fell. I don't think they do that. Knowing how much they just pay Sam Darnold, we gonna have another Kirk Cousins situation. I don't think they do that. But y'all, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'm gonna watch this thinking football vid. I like his breakdowns. I like the analytical side of the game. So we're gonna see what he says about Sheduer. Watching him, there are some times, where I do agree with the holding the ball for a little too long, where I feel like he could just throw it out of bounds. I have seen that from him before, but there's other quarterbacks I've seen that from too. So but again, I guess just talking about him, I have seen that. Extending the play, it's a curse and a gift because there are plenty of times it has worked out very well for him, and sometimes it hurts him. But when he gets out the pocket or he's kind of dancing around, he does a great job of that. And again, it's just when you draft a player like that does that, it just comes with it. For the most part, accuracy is good. There are some throws here and there that I've seen where, I guess the range is a little questionable. He got a good deep ball. He got good power all around. But I don't know, man. I'd have to probably pay attention to if he's getting pressured or not. But that'd definitely tell me some more. But let's see where Thinking Football goes with this. Speaking of copyright, Veritone, the owner of Rice Big Ten, has been cracking down on my Big Ten videos, even the ones with super short clips. It's annoying. Yeah, sometimes it's unavoidable. Like some videos, I was just like, bro, I'm just take the L. Some of them, it's tough.
Sheduer Sanders' name sparks serious interest for those seeking a franchise quarterback, but a review of the tape reveals a project player rather than a prodigy. Aggressive to attack vertically, Sheduer has no issue taking it to the defense, and he dazzles outside of structure. But ultimately, the processing speed leaves you wanting more. Protected by a porous line that clouds the evaluation, he showed some high-level skill under pressure, but a need to see it come open before he released really held his game back. Let's go over the good, the bad, and the ugly of the tape.
All right.
Commander of a RPO-heavy offense.
Hold on real quick. I just want to see if he did one for Cam Ward as well. Get to see a little bit of both. Oh, no, he didn't. I'm pretty sure it's coming, though.
A streaky but talented signal caller, Sheduer Sanders' name sparks serious interest for those seeking a franchise quarterback, but a review of the tape and the ugly of the tape. The commander of a RPO-heavy offense, Sheduer had no problem attempting to push the ball downfield. He loved to take the attack to the defense when the opportunity presented itself, and showed strong aggression to work the dig space in the intermediate, showing good zip inside 20 yards. One of the best ways to beat the trendy quarters defense is with the Mills concept, using a dig route to drag the safety down, and then out-leveraging the corner with a post. It's a perfectly timed call by Colorado, and Sheduer is throwing as the safety crashes down on the dig, launching this 55 yards to Will Shepherd for the leaping grab and score. The corner should make a better play on this, but that's college DBs for you. However, take nothing away from the rhythm, aggression, and launch by Sanders. Adding pressure to the look, here's a good read paired with aggression. Oregon State sends 6, turning this into a cover 0 look. And a way to correctly attack this is with the jailbreak option. The DBs are generally in a catch technique sitting at the sticks, so a fade from inside breaks the coverage. All the QB's gotta do is stand in. And that he does, dropping this long and over the shoulder to put the Buffs inside the 10. Many fear throwing across the middle, but Sheduer is happy to attack the dig space. I wish you would throw these out the cut with much more frequency, and we'll talk about that later on. But there's aggression and occasional glimpses of anticipation to the middle. Another play we see all over modern football, the dagger concept, runs someone from the slot deep, pushing back the second level, and then has the outside receiver curl into the intermediate space. He's a beat late patting the ball before releasing, but the drive is good, and he's got a wide open window to rip the ball through, hitting his receiver in stride for the catch and run. Here's a really well-placed ball to attack that intermediate dig space again, this time bending it around a defender. There's still a pad of the football and waiting for the cut, but he's throwing it to a covered man, with the zip needed to beat the safety. And here's the best of the bunch, throwing with real anticipation. The underneath level of Nebraska's drop 8 plays too shallow on the long downs, and Sheduer is timing this on the skinny post, throwing at the cut, hitting Shepard in stride for the first down. His best reading of defenses came against man coverages, where he showed a good ability to spot it early, scan, and find the open option. On third down, this is a nice read of the bunch formation. They have a follow concept drawn up, clearing the underneath space with a drag by Hunter, and then having an outside releasing route curl back into the created space. His eyes are on Hunter as a quick option, seeing the rat defender tag him, before moving to the correct option and firing fast past the outstretched hand of the DB for the first. Here's more attacking of the intermediate, firing when the linebacker clears the window. They can sit off with the chip releases, but as soon as the back releases flat, the linebacker is crashing downhill, opening an opportunity for the dig route. Again, there's the pat you don't want to see, and it stops Hunter from running full speed into this ball. But it's still another chain mover. And here it is again versus Baylor. There's some hesitancy to shift out of the way of the hard A-gap push, but his eyes are to the correct read, and it's a dart for the first. Pressure was a constant theme of the tape, with the right side of this line being particularly poor, and many a play ended before it even started. When there was a chance to make a play under pressure, he could stand in, seeing no drop in the aggressive nature. This is a nice job to see the defense, attacking it for a house call. Reading the safety rotate down over the blitzing corner, Sheduer reads the roll to single high and knows he has a chance to beat it. The single high safety is far too focused on Hunter, and Jimmy Horn Jr. has a post with inside leverage that could go the distance. The pocket collapses amongst the blitz, but Sheduer stands tall and sends a bomb downfield. It's a little short, but Horn has the smarts to bend.
See, I could 100%. I can question the range on this throw, because I'd rather him be led by the throw than it be. It's not terrible because it's in an open space, so he's for sure catching that. Let me see.
Inside leverage that could go the distance. The pocket collapses amongst the blitz, but Sheduer stands tall and sends a bomb downfield.
Nah. No, this is a good throw. This is a good throw. You could lead it further this way maybe, but
it's a little short.
Nah, yeah, you probably could have angled that further. But I'm not gonna lie, this corner, he looks fast. He for the most part, he stuck with Jimmy the whole route. That's a huge what if. I take this as a good throw.
Distance.
Because when I was watching this highlight, I thought the same thing. When I watched the Jimmy Horn highlight, I thought the same
pocket
thing.
Collapses amongst the blitz, but Sheduer stands tall and sends a bomb downfield. It's a little short.
You could say it's short again. I just don't know.
That could go the distance.
Corners over
pocket
top.
Collapses amongst the blitz, but Sheduer stands tall and sends a bomb downfield. It's a little short.
Nah, if he would have angled this inside, the corner would have played that perfect. Corner was on that. That's a good throw.
But Horn has the smarts to bend back to it,
Great play by Jimmy.
Out his boots and turning on the Jets for 6. And here's nice patience to stand in when the B gap is overloaded, finding his receiver on third down. K-State sends a bending double linebacker blitz over the B gap, knowing they'll create an overload. But this leaves them playing man on the back end, and Colorado called mesh, a perfect beater. Sheduer knows the play's on, standing tall despite the free rusher. The mesh works perfectly, causing 2 defenders to tackle each other, and the receiver brings in the slightly offline ball with a nice one-handed snag, turning upfield for the first. It wasn't all just aggression though. There was a feel for the check down too, able to go through his initial read and find the available underneath yards. This is a nice patient read against Kansas's dropping cover 3. The zone swallows shut all but the back on this curl flat concept, so he smartly works to him, picking up the available yards. And here it is amongst pressure. The play action crossers concept goes nowhere, and the edge brings pressure with the run accounted for. But the free man doesn't phase Sanders. His eyes remain downfield, reading the mesh point. However, seeing the tangle of traffic and feeling a body encroaching, he whips this out to the check down, getting what's available. His accuracy was certainly mixed, but one area where I think he excels, and where I wish he had been used more, was on the move. This helped him build some natural rhythm that often felt lacking in his game.
I literally saw, again, NFL obviously graded him low for athleticism, but I saw a an analyst say that he's not mobile. This dude, he didn't say he's not mobile. He said he lacks mobility. This dude does not lack mobility. He does very well moving around in the pocket and outside the pocket.
And helped define the read no matter the defense. There weren't enough of these designs, but
He's not a
this is
statue
great
at all.
timing, placement, and mechanics on the boot out flood. With the tight end motioning to make it 4 strong, they've got the edge sealed for Sheduer to roll out. The boundary corner has to carry the one long, the linebacker has to step up to take the flat, and the safety can't get over to the out route, leaving a nice rhythm ball for Sheduer to find the first.
It's a
He's
nice
shown
play.
the ability to throw these back into the hook space too. They boot him on the goal line, and BYU flood hard with it, covering all 3 options working boundary. So Sheduer stops and fires a jump pass cross-body to his
Wow.
tight end, curling up in the hook space for the score. And maybe his best of the season, this time rolling out left for a Hail Mary game winner. Baylor smartly bring the overload blitz, trying to force a hurried decision, but Colorado are one step ahead, booting him left for the deep heave. He's out clean, giving him time to flip his hips, going to the receiver on the boundary to get a one-on-one shot. His prayer gets answered, and Colorado would go on to win in overtime. His ability to throw on the move really stood out in the scramble drill, where his improv magic bailed out the Buffaloes with regularity. The terrible protection forced Sheduer into improv mode with far too high a frequency, but he found a way to make it work, twisting his way out of pressures to find a downfield threat. The right guard provides less resistance than a New York subway turnstile, and Sheduer is forced into escape mode before he even reaches the top of his dropback. He spins and pivots out left, causing 2 defenders to collide. And watch his eyes, always up, looking for a receiving threat. He's got plenty of time, allowing Travis to work his wheels across the field, finding him on the sideline. This one starts out as a lefty rollout, but gets forced back right with the line unable to hold the edge. But watch Sanders' ridiculous athleticism to spin and set up the play once more. He looks as if he's going to work back right and through the pocket, before spinning 180 once more, working back out left. The spin loses 3 defenders and sets him up with space to roll left. And again, the eyes are downfield, looking for the open man. Where else is he going to go but Travis Hunter, finding the phenom drifting himself into space, allowing him to tack on a few
Great play
more yards.
by both of them.
And you've seen him reverse field then spin, but how about the double reverse? The right side has him escaping immediately once more, but with the defense smothering his receivers and the rush closing in, he pivots back right, helping reset his line's blocks, and create space to roll in right. DBs can't be expected to cover for this long, and there's an open man on the boundary for the first. He mostly looked to throw, but his legs also came into play too, showing good power through contact and a great initial burst to get crucial downs. Running stunts at the right side pretty much guaranteed pressure, and here it brings it straight up the middle to Sheduer. But he's as cool as a cucumber, sidestepping the rush and taking off with his receivers blanketed, showing burst to beat the linebacker to the angle. On this one, it takes just a 3-man rush to disrupt the pocket, and reading everything covered, Sheduer decides to call his own number. The pump fake holds the backer, and his burst beats the closing defenders to the line for 6. Down around the goal line, they employed him on quite a few read options, creating a numbers advantage in a condensed space. His vision and power were both helpful here, generating 4 rushing scores.
Let's
So,
get to
the
the
aggressiveness
bad.
and creativity come in abundance, but ultimately, I'm still left wanting more, and that's mostly down to the processing speed. Sheduer's reading was incredibly erratic, and for as many good clips as we've shown, there's a fair share of misses, poor decisions, and most troubling, an emphasis on late throws. He seems to lack the ability to hit his receiver out of the break with any consistency, requiring the receiver to flash open before he'll attempt the throw. This see it, throw it approach just doesn't cut it in the NFL. And when you couple that with the struggle to lead the runner, problems start to mount. Early on in the Alamo Bowl,
That was a bad throw.
see it, throw it approach just doesn't cut it in the NFL. And when you couple that with the struggle to lead the runner,
Hold on.
requiring the receiver to flash open before he'll attempt the throw. This see it, throw it approach just doesn't
I don't think this one was bad.
cut it in the NFL. And when you couple that with the struggle to lead the
Oh yeah, this is a bad throw. This is a bad throw. This one is.
runner,
I was questioning it because if his he was getting pressured, but he had enough time to release that ahead of the receiver. He threw it behind him.
problems start to mount. Early on in the Alamo Bowl, the Buffs spread everything out on third to make the decision easier, and both sides of the formation will get receivers open on the short downs. Yet Sheduer waits an age, somehow throwing short of the sticks with only 2 yards to go. BYU does a good job to disguise here, but the initial read comes open. If he puts this on the boundary, it's a first. He then doesn't step up naturally in the pocket, which would have allowed him to find another read to the boundary side. Instead, he's forced to reset his feet before the throw, leaving this short of the sticks and allowing a tackle to bring up fourth. I can't really work out what forced him to not throw this one though, because the read looks clean. The D dropped back into cover 2, and the quick in route is wide open for easy yards. Yet, he just doesn't release it. Waiting this long brings pressure, and you can't. Because the read looks clean. The D dropped back into cover 2, and the quick in route is wide open for easy yards.
Yeah, definitely some hesitation right here. I mean, he could be anticipating this.
Yet, he just doesn't release it. Waiting this long.
Oh, yeah. In his head, again, I could safely assume he expected Buddy right here to jump down on it, but he didn't. So he probably should have just threw it, but yeah, he went to this next read. So
Long brings
at that point, it's too late. Pressure's already coming. It could now. This could be one of two things. He's shown to have good processing, so I mean, it could be a lapse in judgment, or it could be and it's just again one side. It's A or B. A lapse in judgment, which is again that's a knock on him, and or it could be I want to say familiarity with play calling, maybe like chemistry with the OC, not having an expectation of this being open, I guess, or not being comfortable making that throw that quick. But again, it's on him. The guy was open. I don't know how often they ran this play, but again, it's
and the quick in route is wide
like I
open.
said, just trying to play both sides of the coin.
Yet, he just doesn't release it. Waiting this long brings pressure, and you cannot afford to do that with how bad this line is. And the escape plan is poor too.
That was
here,
wild.
He misses a chance to punish.
I mean, I'm glad he threw it away, but that was wild.
Defense. Cincy are all playing before the sticks, and this leaves them in real trouble when they lose track of the deep route from the slot. It's great protection this time, and all he's got to do is drop this in the end zone, and it's 6. But he just doesn't let it fly. He spooks himself and goes to the backside hitch.
Oh my gosh. I don't have an explanation for that. Maybe he didn't see the line. He is 6'1". Maybe he got some tall guys here. That's the only thing I could assume with that. I don't know because the play he threw it up to Will Shepherd was like this. The DB was in decent positions. He just threw it up to him. So I can't make an excuse for this one here. I'm not gonna lie.
It's 6. But He just doesn't let it fly. He spooks himself and goes to the backside hitch, and Hunter makes
What
good
the
yards after the
heck?
catch. But this is still a miss. He just doesn't let it fly. He spooks himself and goes to the backside hitch.
I'm trying to make it make sense. Maybe again, if in his peripheral, maybe he thinks. I don't know. I can't really make too many excuses for this play.
And Hunter makes good yards after the catch. But this is still a missed opportunity. And when you combine missed reads with a trend for being late, you get some real disasters. Throwing hitches at corners in cloud coverage, that's a corner giving 5 to 7 yard cushion, is a big quarterback no-no. It's far too easy for the corner to just slowly backpedal and pounce downhill, already sitting right where your route is going to develop. What you definitely can't do is pat this ball before releasing, giving the corner further time to read where this is going. It's poor all around.
Like he was on to
Sheduer
Travis.
is punished for the mistake, gifting 6 to the other team.
I'm gonna be honest, I've never seen a quarterback pat the ball as much as Sheduer. But at the same time, if he's been doing this in his entire college career and he's putting up single digit interception numbers, and then he had last year he had a bad OC and he's putting up 30 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. I don't know. I don't know if I can really complain about that too much. Maybe it needs to be fixed. Maybe it doesn't. But again, if you got 30 touchdowns, 6 picks, 70% completion rate, I don't know how bad of an error this is. And if it is that bad of an error and you take that away and he's giving you those stats already, then that means it's gonna shoot through the roof. 4,000 yards, however many touchdowns. We threw 42 touchdowns, 10 picks. That's with patting the ball, I don't know.
It's poor all around, and Sheduer is punished.
He hesitated. It wasn't even a pat. Like, there was like a slight pump right there.
It's poor all around, and Sheduer is punished for
I guess that was the pat. That's kind of what I'm looking at.
the mistake, gifting 6 to the other team. This ball pat was a constant trend on tape,
Cisco taking
delaying
notes.
his release and leaving many a ball late. Even when he had his eyes in the right place, he would pat the football, waiting to confirm it was coming open before he released. If he wants to be able to time this hitch, he's got to get through his drop back with more rhythm, and then throw at the cut point. But he's patting before releasing, and this window is closed. Here it is on the dig route. He's never been afraid to throw this ball, but his wait to see the route come open is troubling, and that won't pass in the NFL. Here you see a pat, and it's late and behind, leading to an easy breakup.
All right, that's the second time we've seen a pass thrown behind. You do got to clean that up for sure.
Pat, and it's late and behind.
That's interesting.
Leading to an easy breakup. And here you can really see him wait for it to come open. They've got a nice design comeback here.
A stat that I want to see is how many of his passing yards were, like, I want to see the yardage after catch on his passing yards. I'm kind of curious what that is, and like, how does that compare to some of his peers in this draft? I mean, I'm not seeing a lot of crazy dink and dunk where the receiver is just, I'm not seeing that a whole bunch here, where, he's just throwing a bunch of screens. So, I don't know. So far, these are mistakes that can be fixed. They're not, at least they don't feel detrimental. You know what I mean? They don't feel like it's I just say detrimental, like it's terrible.
Here on third down, but he's a bit late on the release. He needs to be releasing with his back to him. But again, we get a pat.
That is why. Oh no, he's breaking inside. I thought he was breaking outside
On the football.
What was this? What the heck is this? Is he supposed to break like that?
On third down, but he's a bit late on the release.
Boom.
He needs to be releasing with his back to him. But again, we get a pat on
That's kind of weird. I would assume for him to break like this. Now, I don't know if that's the route. If yes, that ball should have been out already. That ball for sure should have been out already. But yeah, that's weird. That's weird. Um,
We get a pat on the
I don't really got too much of a problem with the pat as long as you're doing it and the ball's coming out like at the right time. Like whatever. He could have patted this point 2 seconds ago and then got the ball out and then just like the throws that he is making that's good. I don't know. I don't have a problem with the pat that much. Decision making, in moments like this here is more important.
football, and then a poor transfer of momentum.
Because again, he could have. That break is weird. That break on that was weird. I'm not gonna lie.
Be releasing with his back to him, but again, we get a pat on the football, and
Maybe I'm
then
tripping.
a poor transfer of momentum in release, leaving this short of the sticks and requiring his man to work back to the ball for the catch, allowing the defender to stop this short. And
Miscommunication on that specific play. I'm gonna put that on Sheduer. He should have got that ball out sooner. Again, like I said, I don't really care about the pat. Like he could have patted the ball 0.2, 0.3 seconds before that. As long as he pats and get it out, like like the pat don't really. As long as he's actually throwing it at the right moment, then cool.
here's a dangerously late one up the seam. Kansas's coverage rotation leaves the seam wide open to attack, but he has to rock back before he'll throw it, and this allows pressure to crowd him, leaving him not.
Mm.
But he has to rock back before he'll throw it. Dangerously late one up the seam. Kansas's coverage rotation leaves the seam wide open to attack, but he has to.
He could have got this ball out right here. Defenders turned around. He could have got this ball out right here. Put it about right there. That's money.
Rock back before he'll throw it, and this allows.
His feet was not set.
Wide open to attack.
Boom. Feet not set. This is weird. He's in a weird position right here.
But he has to rock back before he'll throw it, and this allows.
He had to. His feet wasn't set.
Him wide open
1,
to
2,
attack.
3. His drop back was not clean right there. That's the reason why that throw came out late. His drop back wasn't clean. I don't know if that was supposed to be a 3-step or a 5-step, but the drop back wasn't clean. That's literally the only way.
But he has to
only
rock
reason.
back before he'll throw it, and this allows pressure to crowd him, leaving
Wow. Great play by the DB. I'm not gonna lie.
him not wanting to step in, throwing at half speed. You can't be late and slow, and the safeties
Literally. Well, I'm gonna listen to what he got to say for the rest of this play.
recovering for the pass breakup.
Okay, he didn't say much. But, I mean, quarterback. Now I could be wrong. What it's 3, 5, and 7 for step dropbacks. He did like 3.5, 4-ish right there. So his drop back was not clean. If he would have had a clean 3-step drop back or even a clean 5-step drop back, he would have been planted and he could have got that ball out. So that was just the drop back. That really wasn't accuracy or power. That was just because then he had to force drop, like leaning back in order to throw it correctly.
A lot of these
Again,
throws
that's something you
have
could
come
clean
with a
up.
lack of lead too, and this is an issue that crops up throughout the tape and is likely to cause him many problems in the NFL. Pro corners feast on balls
Hold on, let me run that last one back.
have come with a lack of lead too, and this is an issue that crops up throughout the tape and is likely to cause him many problems in the NFL.
I'll roll with him on that. Lack of leading the receivers with the ball. He's shown that to be an issue right now. Definitely. Thinking Football pointed that out. Leading the receiver with the ball, because obviously that was behind. Other one was kind of behind. We've seen a few of those.
NFL. Pro corners feast on balls that are behind, and he's lucky college corners' reactions aren't so quick. When you throw the slant, you're trying to put the ball a foot in front of the numbers, allowing the receiver to run into the ball using
But the thing is, for me to think that he can't adjust to the NFL is wild. I guarantee once Thinking Football breaks down Cam Ward, we're going to see some crazy stuff from Cam Ward. This dude has adjusted. He's adjusted. He adjusted to HBCU. He adjusted to Colorado. And he still is putting up 42 touchdowns and 10 interceptions with 74% completion and 4,000 yards. Once he gets into the NFL, we're going to see some of this stuff get cleaned up. And like again, I don't really care about the ball pattern. Like I really don't. It's had the ball 0.2 seconds earlier. That's it. If that makes you comfortable throwing the ball, then just do it. You got to get your timing better. That's it. Simple as that.
momentum to further the attack.
If it needs to be
But
cleaned
this
up,
one
do it.
doesn't
But
get close and is
Oh,
2
that was
feet
bad.
behind the back plate. Shepherd
What
makes
the
a good
heck?
attempt, but that's a drop I can forgive. Here it is on the out route where it was a common occurrence. His out route
His
ball
release
was
is slow.
frequently thrown
I don't know. I haven't really had the biggest problem with his
up,
release.
I can forgive. Here it is on the out route where it was a common occurrence. His out route ball was frequently thrown a beat late with the ball on the back hip. It doesn't cost him here.
I don't
It's
really got a
great
problem with his
pivot by
release.
Wester, but NFL DBs will be salivating at the sight of this. And maybe most problematically, there's also a lack of lead deep. They get the man matchup they're hoping for against a bunch formation, and they have a sail route that is going to be very hard to defend. Sheduer reads it nicely, but there's another pat, and then he doesn't step in, leaving this behind rather than leading his receiver to the sideline. And it's so short, it hits the DB in the helmet. And this
That is interesting. Again, and I made the comment about his range before the video even started. His range is iffy sometimes. Sometimes he will throw a perfect deep ball, and it'll be down there. And then sometimes where it'll look like it'll require that, and we don't get that same power. So I don't know. I think his range could be a little bit more consistent.
brings us onto the broader point of his mechanics and arm strength. Even when protected well, Sanders' mechanics wavered drastically. And this brings us onto the broader point of his mechanics and arm strength.
I can see this is kind of wide. This is wide. Like his arms out here. It's not tight. You know, it's not coming straight. It's out here. So I mean, yeah, he could clean that up. I mean, we seen Josh Allen do it, but Josh a monster.
Even when protected well,
Yeah, that's a little wild, but he got there.
Sanders' mechanics
A little too high. I mean, that's kind of tough overall. Look, he don't got much space right here.
wavered drastically. He often doesn't step into his throws, and when he does, his arm, shoulder, and hip are all out of tune, costing him a lot of zip on the ball. His footwork is also erratic, operating exclusively out of the gun.
I could understand that. Maybe that's why his range is not consistent. Maybe his dropbacks are not consistent. Maybe his throwing motion is not consistent. Because again, like I said, there are times where he'll throw a beautiful deep ball, and there are times where, like, I know you got the power. Like, what's going on? Like, why did that look like that?
His footwork is also erratic,
That didn't look terrible.
costing him a lot of zip on the ball. His footwork is also erratic.
I
Operating
can see the dropback could be
exclusively
better.
out of the gun, he was a serial hot stepper, adding extra work to the dropback, frequently drifting back and left rather than straight down the pocket. He would also take extra steps before he released, again, seeing that receiver come out of the break before he felt comfortable with releasing, paired with a series of pats on the football. And watch his front foot. It's very rarely pointing in the direction he intends to throw the football, often working at a 90-degree angle to where he
Okay. I like that. I like that point.
wants to throw. And this really limits the amount of zip he can put on the ball. All of this contributes to make his arm appear weaker than what I think it really is.
Yeah,
He's
there
got
we
some
go.
good zip to the intermediate, but you see his deep ball top out at around 53 to 55, about 10 yards shorter than many QBs. And when you can't get extra oomph on the ball for a late deep shot, you leave a lot of balls contested. Sheduer
So what this tells me, he needs to clean up his mechanics on his throwing motion and his drop back. Just make everything sharper, make everything tighter. And then we'll get that consistency. But again, it's like I said, bro, it's crazy to think the stats that he put up with these problems is wild. And a bad O line is actually wild to me to think that he put up these numbers.
also left me wanting more from an arm angles perspective. This has become such a common part of the game. Seeing a QB who doesn't have these side gun releases or off-platform throws to get around defenders was a bit disappointing. It's by no means necessary, but it is worth mentioning. Now,
Pressure
before we
problems.
conclude, I do want to circle back to something. We try to give y'all the full picture here at Thinking Football, and I think I'd be doing both Sheduer and our audience a huge disservice if I didn't mention just how goddamn terrible this offensive line was. I stand by the criticism, and the lateness
And to think that he might have been playing a little bit more free and trying to freestyle and be prepared to freestyle, so his dropbacks are not as precise because he might have to get up out of there and run, and he may be having that PTSD of having to get out of there and run because the O line is so bad. And it's just a thought. I don't know. I don't know how accurate this thought is, but that could be a thing. Again, I mean, because you're constantly getting hit, you constantly getting pressured. So doing everything right, you can't do it right because you have to prepare for what if I get sacked or what if somebody screams in through the left or my blind side.
and lack of lead still happens when the protection holds. But hey, this line gave him grief all year long. To his credit, he never really
Jeez.
saw ghosts or really lost his read because of the pressure. But that's only because his game was so streaky anyway. It's difficult to see if this was caused by pressure anxiety or just his poor mechanics and rhythm. But just keeping it real, this line was garbaggio. Now for me, the game doesn't rise to a high enough level to think he's a starter anytime soon. And man, it's hard to see it happening quickly. The NFL operates at a lightning pace, and if you fall behind the rhythm because of your own mistakes, it's very hard to catch up. I love the aggressiveness, especially facing pressure, but there are too many instances of waiting for his receiver to make the cut, throwing late, or missing reads entirely. His quick game is nice, and he's athletic and can play out of structure and on the move, but his mechanics really limit his game. And yeah, the pressure was bad, but all this happened when the protection held too. There's enough in his game to see him as a developmental quarterback, and I think anyone that does draft him should look to use him on the move early and work to really clean up those mechanics. There's flashes, but ultimately, you're always left wanting more.
Great breakdown, thinking football. Great breakdown. Um, I I think obviously so big point. Um, decision making. Decision making. Release got to be quicker. He got to get that ball out sooner. Throwing the ball behind the receiver at times. Um, mechanics. Mechanics is very, very, very fixable. Very fixable. Um, I think you may not see that completely fixed in year one, but again, bro, with him playing with a bad O line and putting up the numbers that he did, I think that is extremely impressive. They had a winning record. I think that's extremely impressive. Um, I look forward to seeing his Cam Ward breakdown because I just don't think it's that many. I don't think Cam is perfect in comparison to Shador. You know what I mean? Uh, every quarterback has flaws, so I'm looking forward to see. Again, because the media is trying to create this like it's a huge gap. Like it's but it. I just haven't seen it. I don't see a huge gap in these two dudes. Um, he does a lot that's good, and I think the bad things that he does obviously work on your mechanics, sharper drop back, and just consciously being more conscious about trying to lead the ball and get the ball out to the correct spots at the right time. I think a lot of that stuff can very much be cleaned up, but I like that. I learned something, so definitely learned some stuff. Learned some of the stuff that some teams may have seen, but again, like I said at the beginning of the video, I've seen good play from him, and again, there's sometimes where it's inconsistent, but again, I guess we can tie that to the lack of consistency with the mechanics. One thing I like though, we got to see him play behind a bad O line. So when he gets to the NFL, if he is in a bad situation, at least we could expect some success because he knows how to play behind a bad O line. He's done it 2 years in a row and put up good numbers. 70% completion both years. So that is a plus thing. So once we do see him get a good O line, maybe some of that PTSD's gone and he could clean up some of that stuff. But we'll see. YouTube, y'all let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Appreciate y'all for watching. Subscribe. Stay tuned. Stay blessed.